Hi, this is Roland of Making Sound Machines with Enrica at the controls. And today we're looking at the Phoenix 4 from This Is Not Rocket Science. In this video, we want to show you everything you need to get started. If you are watching this, you will likely have a Phoenix in front of you. This video tutorial is meant to show you all you need in order to go and explore on your own. Let's have a quick look at the back first. Connecting and power up. You will find an audio input and the power connector. So let's plug in the power adapter right now. A DIN MIDI input, more on that in another video. A USB socket for firmware update and USB MIDI. And the left and right audio outputs. Connect these to your mixer or audio interface. If instead you want to noodle in silence, use the headphone output on the front of the Phoenix. Make sure to set a conservative output level for your main outs first, and if you use headphones, use the big knob to dial in a reasonable setting. Now, flick the power switch to turn on the Phoenix. Knobs and patch points. Phoenix is a modular synthesizer. You might already be familiar with Eurorack modules, and Phoenix is completely compatible with that. On Eurorack modules, you will find a mix of knobs and jacks on the panel. Phoenix instead groups the knobs and jacks each in their own area. That way, if you want to wiggle a knob, you won't have to fumble through a nest of cables. The patch area looks a little bit like a scaled down version of the layout on top, where you find the knobs. This way you will always find the patch points for a module in a predictable area. For example, you will find the knobs for the Phoenix oscillator here and the patch points here. Some utilities, like the multiples, will have no knobs and only patch points. All patch points are one of three types: audio signals with a yellow ring, control voltages with a silver ring, and triggers or gates with a blue ring. Patch points are earmarked, so you know which ones are inputs and which are outputs. Jacks with a mark coming from the top left are inputs. Jacks with a mark pointing to the top right are outputs. Jacks with a mark pointing to the bottom right are inverted outputs, and some jacks can be inputs as well as outputs, for example on the multiples. Your Phoenix comes with a bag of cables with the same color codes. If you want, you can use these to match the kind of signal you're patching. Apart from length and color, the cables are technically the same, so you can use any cable in any patch point. Note that the color scheme is pretty much a serving suggestion. Great things can be found by using an audio out on a gate or CV in, or listening to a gate. Also note that you may patch any output to any input on Phoenix and won't be able to break anything by doing so. So let's dive in. How to get audio out. Patch the sine output of the Phoenix oscillator to output A in 1. You will hear a sine on your left speaker. Sweep the coarse and fine knobs to adjust the pitch. Now use the level knob to set the volume. And try panning the signal. Try ins 1 and 2. Out A and B have 2 inputs each. The Phoenix oscillator is a classic analog oscillator, and you will find all the basic waveforms as audio outputs here, plus a square stack and 2 sub-oscillators. Let's add a second wave. Patch a second cable from sub 2 out to output B in 1. You will hear a square 2 octaves lower on your right speaker. Set pitch with the coarse and fine knobs. Now use the level knob to set the volume. Set panorama out A to left and out B to right. You should hear the sine on left and the sub on right. Now unpatch. Phoenix lets you have a look at the wave too. Patch Phoenix oscillator sine out into scope audio in 1, and then scope audio out 1 into out A in 1. From the home screen, click 1 over to scope. Try pitching the oscillator and see the wavelength change. The blue line stands for scope channel 1. Now patch Phoenix oscillator sub 2 out into scope audio in 2. And then scope audio out 2 into out B in 1. Try pitching the oscillator again. You can see the sub-oscillator displayed in yellow for scope channel 2. You can see that the sub has 4 times the wavelength compared to the sine wave, so 4 cycles sine equal 1 cycle square, which equates to 2 octaves and is exactly what we are hearing. You will have noticed that the modules are color-coded as well. Modules of the same family are color-coded the same way and offer the same function, but in a different style. In a patch, you will often be able to substitute them for one another. Generators are colored yellow and produce their own sound. So let's try a second generator, the digital oscillator. Let's unpatch Phoenix oscillator sine out from scope audio in 1 and instead patch Phoenix digital oscillator out 1 into scope audio in 1. This is a digital module. You get to choose from different modes of operation. Use the button on top to cycle through the modes. Hold Enter and the module button. The menu will jump to the digital oscillator settings page. This works if you are on the logo page or at the top of the menu. If you are already on a menu page, use the direction buttons to go there. Now you can see descriptions for the parameters. Wiggle some knobs and observe them visualized on the screen. Click the button on top and you can see that the modes are Mode 1, Shape Distortion, Mode 2, Pulse Train, Mode 3, FM, Mode 4, Wavetable, and another click wraps around to Mode 1. Go to the first mode, Shape Distortion. Try wiggling Parameter 1 and have a look at the screen to see what Parameter 1 means in this context. It's a low pass. Parameter 2 is Fold, and Parameter 3 is Phasing. Click the module's Mode button at the top again to switch modes. You will see that the context of what parameters 1, 2 and 3 mean changes with the oscillator's modes. Unpatch. Set panorama out A to middle. Our next patches will be mono for now. Let's use some utility modules, in gray, to make our patch more interesting. Utility modules range from simple plumbing like multiples, to logic modules, to the Phoenix sequencer. We'll return to them over the course of this video as we need them in our patch. Patch Phoenix Digital Oscillator Out 1 into VCA 1 Audio In and VCA 1 Audio Out into Out A In 1. Note that we don't hear anything yet because we need a voltage to open the VCA. Now patch CV Mixer Out 1 into VCA 1 CV In. Wiggle the offset knobs. Over 12 o'clock, you will hear the positive voltage open the VCA. Counterclockwise, you will get negative voltage, and the VCA will just ignore that. Set the panorama for out A to left and the panorama for out B to right, so things can get stereo again. Let's use the mixer, then add some space. Unpatch VCA 1 Audio Out from Audio A in 1. Then patch VCA 1 Audio Out into a multiple, and from there into Mixer 1 in 1. Also patch the multiple into Mixer 3 in 1. We have now effectively split the signal into both channels of the mixer. Patch Mixer 1 out into Out A in 1 and Mixer 3 out into Out B in 1. Set the pots for Mixer 1 channel 1 and Mixer 3 channel 1 fully clockwise. Make sure panning is set left for Out A and right for Out B. Now we have the dry signal on the left and right channel of the output. Wiggle the offset knob over 12 o'clock to confirm. Try the Mixer 1 channel 1 to adjust volume for left channel. And try Mixer 3 channel 1 to adjust volume for the right channel. Now we patch a delay. Patch from the multiple into a dual delay in 1. And patch from dual delay out 1 into Mixer 1 in 2. And from dual delay out 2 into Mixer 3 in 2. Hold Enter and the Module button to enter the Dual Delay Settings menu. Set Dual Delay Setting Mix to Wet Only. Use the left button until it says Wet Only. Time Source to Dual Delay. And Input Mode to Mono Mix. Now let's set length 1 to 8 o'clock and length 2 to about 7 o'clock. Parameter 1, which is feedback routing, fully clockwise, and parameter 2, which is feedback tilt, fully clockwise. Let's set feedback to 12 o'clock. Wiggle the VCA knob quickly and you'll get some nice ping-pong delay. Try mixer 1 channel 2 to adjust delay level for the left channel, and mixer 3 channel 2 to adjust delay level for the right channel. Let's find a module to wiggle that knob for us. Let's use a modulator in red first. Unpatch CV Mixer Out 1 from VCA1 CV In, and instead patch LFO1 Triangle Out into VCA1 CV In. Try LFO1 RAID, and hear the volume change faster and slower. Then try symmetry, and hear the volume change from ramp down to triangle to ramp up. That's fun! Let's try another module from the same category. Unpatch LFO1 from VCA1 CV In, and instead patch wobbler signal into VCA1 CV In. Set the knobs like this for a start. RAID to 12 o'clock. Modify to 12 o'clock. Mode to self-phasing, which is the second LED at 11 o'clock. And phase to fully counterclockwise. This is a digital module again. Hold Enter plus Module button and the menu will jump to that module's page. You will see the waveform of the LFO displayed. Try RAID. Now try modify and phase. Observe that you can get much more complex shapes from this LFO. Change to pendulum mode. In this mode, you need to click the button to trigger the LFO once. Let's use an envelope in orange instead of a modulator. Envelopes are marked orange and output voltage curves to change parameters for you. On Phoenix you will find 2 ADSR and 1 AHDSR-D. Unpatch the wobbler signal from VCA1 CV In and instead patch ADSR1 out into VCA1 CV In. Set A attack to counterclockwise, D decay to 9 o'clock, S sustain to about 12 o'clock, and R release to 2 o'clock. Above the attack knob, you will find a button to manually trigger the envelope. Just tap that button on top of the module to trigger the envelope. Hold, then release the button. Now you can clearly hear the sustain phase. Play with the attack, decay, sustain and release knobs to alter the curve of the envelope. Just for fun, let's patch the trigger out button into ADSR1 gate in. As you can see, we have now effectively replaced the button on top of the module for another button. Let's look for a module to give us gates. Let's unpatch trigger button out from ADSR1 gate in, and instead patch sequencer gate out into ADSR1 gate in. Hit the button at the top of the sequencer to start the sequence. The LED buttons labeled 1 through 8 show you whether a step is active or not. Lit LEDs mean a step is active. Now try the speed knob to change the tempo. Right now, we're sequencing only the gate. Let's sequence pitch as well. Let's patch the sequencers quantized out into the digital oscillators 1 volt per octave in. Try setting the digital oscillator's pitch knob. You will notice that the sequence is offset by the oscillator's pitch. Now play with the ADSR. Now try changing the sequence with the step knobs. Try switching steps to long. And try switching steps to double. The blue jacks on the right side of the sequencer produce a trigger per step. Turn up release on the ADSR and unpatch sequencer gate out from ADSR1 gate in, and instead patch step 6 out into ADSR1 gate in. Try that with different jacks. You can also change the value of a step from the outside. Patch LFO1 triangle into CV-in1. Knob 1 now becomes an attenuator, admitting an amount of CV depending on how much the knob is open. Finally, you can offset the values of all steps from the outside. Patch octave selector out into sequencer in. Try playing with the octave selector to transpose the whole sequence up or down. Let's add a little glide. Unpatch the quantize out from the digital oscillator's volt per octave in, and instead patch quantize out into slew limiter audio in and slew limiter audio out into digital oscillator volt per octave in. Turn both slew limiter knobs fully counterclockwise. Now try the slew rise knob. You can hear a 303-like portamento on rising steps of the sequence. Finally, let's add a great sounding filter, dark blue, on top. Unpatch mixer 1 out from out A in 1 and mixer 3 out from out B in 1, and instead patch mixer 1 out into ladder filter in 1 and mixer 3 out into ladder filter in 2. Now patch ladder filter out 24 dB into out A in 1 and ladder filter out 30 dB into out B in 1. Let's wiggle the cutoff knob. And the resonance knob. This has been Getting Started with the Phoenix 4 from This Is Not Rocket Science, and we hope you already find a lot of inspiration to go and explore on your own. We will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.